What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. It is time to give you my official spring football top 25 rankings for the upcoming 2025 college football season. So I think spring practices and spring games are already finished, but also the transfer portal is over for the spring football season. It ended this past Monday, I believe. So yeah, the spring transfer portal I think is pretty much over. I don't know if we have another transfer portal season coming up or not. Maybe it's in the summer, but I can't remember. But with spring football completed, I'm going to give you my official spring football top 25. Of course, this is an updated top 25 after my way too early top 25 rankings after the season ended back in the month of January. So let's go ahead and get right into it. And before I start actually with these top 25 rankings, I have actually a couple of teams on here that I thought about putting in the top 25, but they didn't quite make it in because there was not really enough room to do like a top 27 or anything like that. So these were the couple teams that I had, probably putting in the top 25. We'll call them honorable mentions. So you got Texas Tech out of the Big 12 and then Duke out of the ACC. These were two teams that I thought about putting in the top 25. Texas Tech, you look at them, a lot of experience coming back on this team. They have a bunch of guys coming in from the transfer portal, and this is a really well-coached team. They also have a schedule that sets up pretty well for them, and I think this is a Texas Tech team that everybody is sleeping on in the conference in the Big 12. This team definitely could probably be a dark horse team in the Big 12, and they also wouldn't surprise me if they were a top contender. And then you look at Duke on the other side, a pretty successful first year under Manny Diaz. He's a defensive kind of guy. We kind of knew that he was a defensive background kind of guy, but we didn't know how good the offense was going to be. And they have a transfer quarterback coming in from Tulane. I think he's going to be a pretty good player for them. So yeah, Duke is a team to keep an eye on as well to be a dark horse contender in the ACC. So again, these two teams did not quite make it in, but they were definitely close to being in my top 25. But again, there was not really enough room for both of these teams. So those were the two honorable mentions I had here for my top 25. But let's get now into my rankings. So we'll start from 21 through 25. I got Baylor at number 25, and I really haven't moved them, ever since my way too early top 25. This is a team that has a lot of production coming back on both sides of the football, and they also added some nice additions in the transfer portal. And yeah, Baylor is going to be a team that I think will be a sneaky good team in the Big 12. They are definitely that dark horse team in the Big 12 in my opinion, and they definitely could be a top 25 team. Louisville at number 24. This team is going to lose quite a bit from last year, including Tyler Shuck at quarterback, but they added some new pieces in the portal like they do every year under Jeff Brom, and Jeff Brom has really proven us that he can get it done here at Louisville, especially in the transfer portal. They got Miller Moss coming in, the transfer from USC. We'll see how good he is in the passing game for Louisville. To me, that's got to be something that Louisville's going to have to improve on this year, is definitely the passing game, and then their defense I think should be solid as well. So yeah, the Cardinals definitely should still be a contender in the ACC, but with the amount of losses they had from last year, I mean, it's new players that they've added, but they're still at number 24 here at the bottom of these rankings. Kansas State at number 23. Really, it's all about Avery Johnson at quarterback. How good will he be in his second year as a full-time starter? Last year we saw, the consistency of him in some games, and then some games he was inconsistent, but this is a very well-coached Kansas State team. I mean, they lost some good players in the secondary. That's probably the only thing I'm concerned about for Kansas State. They also lost their top running back, but they got a, running back room that's pretty loaded. So yeah, this offense should be solid, and then the defensive line should be solid as well. So yeah, this is a well-coached Kansas State team, and they're definitely a top 25 team every year. And then Iowa State at number 22. They lost a couple of really good receivers from last year. Rocco Beck is back at quarterback. You're going to have a passing game if you're the Cyclones. That's definitely probably the concern here I have for Iowa State. I had this team actually in the top 15 in my way too early top 25. Don't really have them in that conversation anymore. I still think this will be a Big 12 contender and everything like that. But again, who is going to step up at wide receiver? That'll be a big question mark. I mean, offensively, I think they're going to be pretty solid. Maybe not really as good as it was from last year in the passing game especially, but defensively they should be solid on that side of the football as well. And then Texas A&M at number 21. I thought about putting Texas A&M at least in the top 20, but Mike Elko has kind of proven to us that he's a pretty good coach, but he's just getting started here at the Texas A&M football team. So yeah, I kind of want to see more from Texas A&M, but you look at this roster, it's pretty talented on both sides of the football, especially in the secondary. They do return a lot of good players there on that side of the football on defense. They lost quite a bit on the defensive line, but they should be able to fill those holes in with the transfer portal. And then you look at offensively, Marcel Reed back at quarterback. We saw how good he was from last year, so that definitely will be a big step up for Texas A&M. And this offense actually returns quite a bit from last year. I mean, they lose some key receivers, but that's not really a concern in my opinion for the Aggies. So these are my rankings from 21 through 25. All right, 16 through 20, we got Ole Miss at number 20. I feel like it's going to be a little bit of a step back year for the Rebels, especially on the defensive side of the football. I still think the offense will be really good. You got Austin Simmons taking over at quarterback, but this Ole Miss team lost quite a bit of talent from last year. The secondary, I think, is probably going to be the strength of the defense, but the defensive line is definitely a concern, in my opinion, for the Rebels. So, again, the offense will be good, but they got some new faces coming in from the transfer portal, and obviously Lane Kiffin knows how to get it done here for this, Ole Miss team. Tennessee at number 19. They were actually at number 19 in my way too early rankings. I still have them here at number 19 and everything. Tennessee loses Nico Amaliava due to the transfer portal and the NIL situation. Obviously, that was a big thing, during the offseason here for Tennessee. They got a transfer quarterback coming in, and, the Aguilar, I guess that's how you pronounce his last name. Yeah, he's coming in from UCLA, but I don't really know how good he's going to be for this Tennessee football team. Does he fit well into this system? There's a lot of new faces on this Tennessee offense. A couple of wide receivers gone from last year. They lose Brew McCoy and Deontay Thornton. Those are big losses for Tennessee. And then you look at the defense. That defensive line loses quite a bit, including James Pierce Jr., a first-round NFL draft pick. And then you got the secondary. The secondary doesn't look so bad, though, for Tennessee. That might be the strength of this defense for the Vols. But, yeah, Tennessee definitely should have some holes to fill on that defensive line. So maybe this defense could be the strength of this team. I think it's really going to come down to Joey Aguilar, the transfer from UCLA, and this entire offense for the Vols. But I got Tennessee here at number 19 and then SMU at 18. Kind of sitting right there in the middle of the pack. Kevin Jennings is back at quarterback. Yeah, that's good news there. I think this offense will be pretty solid, but they lost some good players on the defensive line, but the secondary definitely looks like it's going to be the strength of the defense. So, yeah, no concerns whatsoever, but with those losses on defensive line, that puts SMU down here from 16 through 20. And then South Carolina at 17. Lenore Sellers back at quarterback. We saw how good he was at running the football from last year. Yeah, this offense is going to lose quite a bit, especially on the offensive line, but they added some pieces in the portal and especially on the defensive side of the football as well, because they're going to lose quite a lot there from last year, but they added some nice pieces in the portal. So South Carolina still should be a pretty good team. Raheem Sanders is gone at running back, but I think Lenore Sellers is probably going to be the guy that will run the football a lot for South Carolina, and I got the Gamecocks here at number 17. And then Indiana at 16. A lot of people are kind of expecting Indiana to drop off from where they were last year. I disagree. I think Indiana is going to be like a top 20, top 15 type team. Kirk Zanetti has already kind of proven to us that he's a winner as a coach. And, against the top teams in the Big Ten, we still have to kind of figure out what he does against some of the top teams. But last year was a pretty easy schedule. This year it's an even more tougher schedule. But we'll see definitely how good Kirk Zanetti is against some of the top teams in the Big Ten this year. But, yeah, Indiana, they reloaded in the transfer portal. They also got the, transfer quarterback coming in from Cal. We saw how decent he was from last year. So, yeah, Indiana at 16. These are my rankings here from 16 through 20. All right, 11 through 15 now. We got Michigan at number 15. It really comes down to Bryce Underwood, the freshman quarterback. I think he's going to be pretty good for Michigan. It really comes down to that passing game, though, because Michigan did not have a passing game from last year. You look at the offense, they lose quite a bit there from last year. including Loveland at tight end. That's a pretty big loss there for Michigan, but they do have some holes there that they can fix up for the offense. And I think this offense is actually going to be a lot better for Michigan this year because they finally have a quarterback that can develop some kind of passing game. And then on defense, they lose quite a bit of good players there on that side of the football, but this is a defense that definitely should be able to reload. And yeah, Michigan definitely going to be pretty decent on both sides of the football. And I think Michigan is kind of back to where they used to be. You know, a couple years ago when they won the national championship, they were definitely the top team in the Big Ten throughout those years, but now they're kind of back to where they used to be, being like a top contender in the Big Ten. Not the top team in the conference, but definitely right there in that conversation. We got Florida at number 14. I understand that's a little bit high for the Gators, but this is a team that is going to be really good in my opinion this year. They can also be like an SEC dark horse contender. DJ Lagway is back at quarterback. They returned almost everybody on offense. They lose a couple of really good receivers, but that's really about it. So yeah, Florida definitely, they should be pretty good on the offense. And then defensively, they don't really lose quite a bit there either. I mean, they lose a really good safety on that side of the football, but that's about it. So Florida definitely should be like a top 15, top 20 team, and definitely a dark horse team in the SEC. And then Illinois at number 13. This is a team that returns a lot of production from last year. Luke Altmaier is back at quarterback. Can Illinois live up to the hype? I mean, that's definitely going to be a question that they need to answer every year because, you know, every year it seems like when we kind of predict Illinois' record, you know, we predict them to be like, you know, really bad last year. They were kind of a surprise team in 2024. And then this year, I'm kind of expecting them to be really good, but they could probably turn out to be bad. You never know. But yeah, I think Illinois is actually going to be a better team this year. They definitely will live up to the hype. So yeah, this Illinois team, a lot of experience coming back on both sides of the football, and they're at number 13 in these rankings. BYU at number 12, another team that has a bunch of experience coming back, especially on offense. Jake Ratcliffe back at quarterback. I think this offense is going to be one of the best offenses in the Big 12. And then defensively, if that defense can get better and be solid here throughout the rest of the year, then yeah, BYU has a chance to be a really dangerous team, especially in the Big 12, even though the Big 12 is definitely going to be wide open. And speaking of the Big 12, just ahead of them is the defending Big 12 champions, Arizona State, at number 11. You know, obviously a lot of people are kind of expecting the Sun Devils to take a step back this year, but if you look at the roster, they didn't really lose a whole lot. Sam Levitt is back at quarterback. We saw how good he was from last year, and they also return a good group of wide receivers as well. They lose a really good wide receiver from last year, but that's really about it. So yeah, the Sun Devils definitely should be a top 15, maybe even a top 10 team. I mean, they lose Cam Scadaboo at running back, I should say. That's probably the one thing that's keeping them out of the top 10 at least. But yeah, the Sun Devils, wouldn't be surprised if they made the college football playoff again, and this is a team that definitely could be the favorite to win the Big 12 again in 2025. Let's go to 6 through 10 now. So I got Miami at number 10. This is a Miami team. It really comes down to Carson Beck at quarterback. Can he go back to where he was a couple of years ago at Georgia, where he was a very explosive passer, but last year had a very tough season. Didn't really have any good receivers on that Georgia team. Here at Miami, it's a little bit of a different story. He's going to have a lot of young receivers to go to because they lost quite a bit of good receivers from last year, but this is a Miami team that reloads every year. Mario Cristobal gets it done in the transfer portal. They brought a bunch of additions on that side of the football, on both sides of the football, I should say, and then they added, some pieces on defense as well. So yeah, it really comes down to the consistency of Miami. Under Mario Cristobal, there's times where they're inconsistent on the field. Yeah, this is a very talented team, but sometimes they're up and down, and I don't think this offense will be as explosive as it was from last year. Cam Ward definitely is a big loss for them, but yeah, Carson Beck, we'll see how good he's going to be here. It's really down to him in this offense for Miami, and that's why they're here at number 10. They're also just a pretty talented team. That's why I put them here in the top 10. Alabama at number 9. I know a lot of people are saying that Alabama is going to definitely not have a great year under second-year head coach Kalen DeBoer. Look, I know it was a really tough year last year, but obviously Alabama, their passing game was definitely probably the biggest struggle. They didn't really have a great group of wide receivers from last year, but this year they do definitely have that. Ty Simpson, it's really going to be about this offense for him. How good is he going to be at the quarterback position under I don't think he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks that Alabama's had. Alabama's had some great quarterbacks in the past, but I don't think Ty Simpson's going to be one of them. But if he can get better, I think Alabama definitely will be a dangerous team. Defensively, defensively, they almost return everybody back there on that side of the football. Yeah, they lose talent, but Alabama's got talent on both sides of the football, and I do like these group of wide receivers, and I also like the defense that they got. So the Crimson Tide definitely should be a little bit better this year, and second-year head coach Kalen DeBoer under Alabama. So I got the Tide here at number 9. Oregon at number 8. It's really about Deontay Moore at quarterback. You know, he's a former 5-star guy. Have never seen him play before, so I think Oregon definitely is going to get better. You know, the first half of the year they might struggle with Deontay Moore, but then second half, this Oregon team is going to be much better, and I think they can still be a playoff contender. But I got the Ducks here at number 8 because of the amount of losses that they had from both sides of the football from last year. But yeah, I like this Oregon team a lot. They're here at number 8, and then Notre Dame at number 7. Fighting Irish, of course, runner-ups from last year's national championship game. They lose Riley Leonard at quarterback, but they're going to have a new quarterback that could develop right away. You look at the running game, though. That's going to be the strength of this Notre Dame offense. They got Jeremiah Love coming back at running back. I think he has a chance to be one of the best running backs in the country. And then defensively, with Marcus Freeman's defensive background, they should be really good on that side of the football as well. So, yeah, Notre Dame, I don't think it's going to be a big step back for them. I mean, they're still going to be a talented team, no question about it. So I got the Fighting Irish here at number 7. And then I got LSU here at number 6. I know this seems like a bit high here, just like I mentioned here for, you know, some other team, maybe like Alabama or maybe like some other team that I mentioned a while ago. But yeah, LSU at number 6. This is a team that added a bunch of additions in the transfer portal, and this is going to be a very talented team this year. Garrett Nussmeier is back at quarterback, but, you know, offensive line looks like it's going to be a concern because they lost really good players on that side of the football, but they added some pieces in the transfer portal to help out those positions. And then on defense, I think this is actually going to be a better defense compared to, you know, ever since Brian Kelly has been here. I mean, Harold Perkins is back as well at linebacker. He missed almost the entire season from last year. So yeah, this LSU team has a chance to make some noise coming up in 2025, and they definitely could be a playoff contender. You never know. So these are my rankings from 6 through 10. Let's now go to the top 5. So at number 5, I got Clemson. This is a team that returns a lot of production from last year. Cade Klubnik is back at quarterback. He definitely should be one of the best quarterbacks, mainly in the ACC, and he has a chance to be the best quarterback in the country, in my opinion. This offense should be pretty explosive under Garrett Riley, like it was from last year, and then defensively, they're also going to be pretty talented there. And then they also got Tom Allen coming in, the defensive coordinator from Penn State. We saw how good the Penn State defense was from last year. It wasn't really dominant, but it was still a top 5 defense in the country. So yeah, Clemson definitely should be pretty dominant on both sides of the football. And then, you know, they added some additions in the transfer portal, which is definitely what Clemson needed. So I got the Tigers here of Clemson at number 5, Georgia at number 4. Really, it comes down to Gunnar Stockton as well at quarterback. You know, Gunnar Stockton, you know, you look at these next 3 teams, Texas, Ohio State, and Georgia, it's really all about their quarterbacks. It's going to come down to Gunnar Stockton for Georgia. Ohio State, it's going to come down to Julian Sayin, and then Texas, it's going to come down to Arch Manning. I think Arch Manning is a little bit better than both of those, you know, guys, Julian Sayin and Gunnar Stockton, because Arch Manning has experience, so I do expect him to be a little bit better than both of those guys. But yeah, Georgia, the talent is there for them. It's really going to come down to the offense for them. They don't really have a great group of wide receivers, but they're going to have to really step up this year in order Gunnar Stockton to have a pretty good year. And then defensively, they'll reload on that side of the football, of course, like they do every year. So yeah, I do expect Georgia's defense to be pretty good. Same thing with the Buckeyes. They do have a lot of talent around them, and it's really going to come down to that offense. So yeah, Ohio State at number 3, and then Texas at number 2. Lost a lot of talent from last year, but this is a Texas team that's very talented as well. And like I said, these teams here from 2 to 4, Texas, Ohio State, and Georgia, I think Arch Manning is the quarterback that definitely is going to live up to the hype, probably you know, more than these 2 other quarterbacks on these teams. But I got Texas here at number 2, and then Penn State I got at number 1. I really like this Penn State team a lot. I like what they have coming back on both sides of the football. I mean, offensively, you got Drew Rowler coming back, and you probably got the best 1-2 punch at running back in the country. You got, you know, Nicholas Singleton and then Kyron Allen. Those 2 guys are going to be really good, and the Big Ten has had some really good running backs, you know, duos in the last 3 years. Last year was Quayshawn Judkins and Travion Henderson, and then the year before was actually Blake Corum, and then also you had, you know, Donovan Edwards. So those 2 two guys were pretty incredible as well. Penn State's defense should be pretty good. The defensive line maybe is a little bit of concern, but they definitely should be able to reload there. And then the secondary should be really good as well. And then I also forgot to mention the Buckeyes do have Jeremiah Smith, one of the best wide receivers from last year, coming back. So those are my top 5 rankings, and those are my official spring football top 25 rankings for the upcoming 2025 college football season. Let me guys know what you think about my spring football top 25, and give me your spring football top 25 down in the comments below. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports YouTube channel.